You all should already know who I am. And if you don't, what a pity. Anyways, moving on. My name is John Adams. Somebody open up a window. My God, where's my beverage? Oh, there it is. Now that we have that all situated, let's get back to me. I was born on October 30th, 1735 in Braintree, now known as Quincy, Massachusetts. I lived on a family farm. My dad was a farmer and a deacon. Sadly, in 1769, my dad passed away of an epidemic, the flu. My mother is not heard about very often. Her name is Susanna Boylston Adams. She passed away in 1797 during my first year of presidency. I have two younger siblings, Peter and Elia. Some of you may know my cousin, Samuel Adams. Oh, and I can't forget about my third cousin, Abigail Smith, later known as my wife, Abigail Adams. I was not in school. I preferred activities outdoors. My favorite activity was hunting. Apparently, my parents discovered that I was stubborn too when I was young. Would you get out of my way, you lonesome woman? You're ruining this video!
I'm sorry.
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Back to my schooling. It was very unsteady from early on. I attended a series of schools. I had little patience for school, but one of the things I enjoyed was math. That was my favorite subject. Math! As the years went on, my schoolwork improved. In fact, I attended Harvard in 1751 and graduated with a bachelor's degree in art in 1755. I actually went on to be a schoolmaster in Worcester, Maryland. I often thought I was ruining my chances for a better career. While working at the school, I imagined myself as the dictator, and the students in my classroom as politicians and generals. During my time at Worcester, I began my journal, which is now famous. My first entry was on January 14th, 1756. Eventually, I quit being a schoolmaster and moved on to practicing law. I married my third cousin, Abigail Smith, in the fall of 1764. I was 28 and Abigail was 19. She was very attractive. In 1765, our first child was born. It was a girl. We named her Abigail, but we called her Nabby. After Nabby was born, a lot of terrible things began to happen, one of them being the Boston Massacre. Although after the Boston Massacre, I became one of the most famous lawyers in Boston. In 1767, my first son was born. We named him John Quincy. He later on became the 6th President of the United States of America. Then Abigail and I had another baby girl the following year. Her name was Susanna, but sadly Susanna passed away when she was a baby. In 1770, we had a second son, and we named him Charles. And in 1772, our third son was born. We named him Thomas Boylston. Lastly, in 1777, Abigail gave birth to Elizabeth, who was a stillborn. Over the course of 10 years, Abigail and I had 6 children. I was 43 when my last child was born. Abigail was responsible for the children and the business when I was away on long trips. She also wrote letters to me when I needed her advice on political and personal issues. I first served as the vice president under George Washington, but when George Washington refused a third term, I was elected president of the United States. And in 1797, I, John Adams, became the 2nd President of the United States. My Vice President was Thomas Jefferson. Although I was the first president to belong to the Federalist Party, Federalists believe in the strong central government. While I was the president, the government moved from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. I was actually the first president to live in the White House, and I maintained to keep the U.S. out of war during my time of presidency. No big deal. In 1799, I sent peace commission to France to reopen negotiations. We settled the difference at the convention of 1800 and avoided war. My term ended on March 4th, 1801. My sweet Abigail, God bless her soul, passed away on October 28th, 1818. I lived to see my son, John Quincy Adams, become the 6th President of the United States of America. Thomas Jefferson and I bonded over our love for our country, and near the end of our lives, we wrote letters to each other. Except neither of us read each other's letters because we both passed away on July 4th, 1826. I left behind a well-conceived value system in which I believe that the executive branch should stand above politics. I also pride myself in not giving in to the public opinion that conflicts with my fundamentals. My library is located in Quincy, Massachusetts. That concludes my life story. I'm sure you were very entertained by this, but if you weren't, you must be very stubborn.